It's the fifth tackle. Let's put the bomb up on WCBH. And you're listening to Darwin's 97.7.
And we're back. It's 11 minutes past 9. You're with Cam and Will. This is WCBH on Darwin's 97.7. Joining us in the studio this morning is Clint Doedee, president of the South Darwin Rugby League Football Club. Good morning to you, Clint.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks for having me.
We're in the pre-season at the moment for the DABSCO and the Tru-Flow Services Premiership. South Darwin, they're back on the field doing the training now?
We are. This is our first week, so we started on Tuesday. We're week 1, but the number's 6 squad, under 18, and it's been good.
And I imagine at this stage of the year, there'd be some players who are still playing NTFL, some that might be playing club rugby as well. So you expect the numbers to continue to build over the next few weeks?
Yeah, that's very much sort of going on, and they're approaching their final. So there is a number of players that we don't expect to see back till closer to round.
Let's start with the coaching lineup for the season. Who's your DABSCO, your Tru-Flow, your Gatley Shield coaches lining up for the season?
Yeah, so we've had a fair bit of consistency, which is a key kind of model that we're liking to adapt consistency for the club. So we've had Daniel Roach return in men's prems. Roach is synonymous around the Darwin circles with about 10 coaching experience as well as an extensive playing career. So that's fantastic for the men's prem, the consistency there. Yo Morris has jumped in. She has a deep connection to the club with with South Darwin brand and a strong connection with the juniors, the seniors who are out there and coming back to the club potentially. And Minnie, which is our women's coach, and he's been within the system for 3 years. So
that's fantastic. I took some notes down, and one of the things I took notes down for Souths for 2026 was consistency, and it's the first thing that you've led with this morning. So that's great to see. I've been really excited with the social media posts that we're seeing coming across from South Darwin around the players returning and the new signings as well. Can you take us through who's lining up for 2026, or some of the players?
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's early days, and like you said, people are returning, or there is people that are coming up from down south and things like that. But the names that spring to mind that are obviously Kane Gimney is back, and he's looking at a key milestone year this year. And we've got guys like Dusty Briscoe, Travis Mitchell, which is fairly new, but come across. Jakey Ranger is quite dynamic. Those are guys that have had an association to the South brand. There is likelihood that we'll see some more juniors playing senior football, noting that our under-16s and our under-18s are quite competitive, and those 16s moving to 18s. So those are the guys that are the mainstays. Undoubtedly, we've had some new defence guys come into the region. And some guys leave, and there is a few new players that have relocated from either Canberra or the Gold Coast that are looking to play for South. So that's exciting. Like you said, the Gove partnership is.
Yeah, take us through that. This is big.
Yeah, it is. So obviously, people are aware of Billy and what they're doing over in Gove, and that journey started for them last year, where they raised the club, and in a remote location like Gove and Nhulunbuy, opportunities are slightly limited, but they've got a fantastic group of guys and girls there that are very keen to play football. So that made sense to us at South that we naturally wanted to get involved with that. What a great opportunity to promote like remote partnerships and player opportunities. So, Villy and his team, the Afiki brothers, there's a number of other guys that are coming in 2026 that they'll certainly be playing a lot more football for South Darwin, which is exciting.
Have you sort of worked out the logistics and the dollars? How many games you think they might come in for the season?
Oh, listen, that is a challenging space, like as you're well aware, with the remote travel aspects. But we've not only have we developed a fantastic partnership with Villy and his team at Gove United, but also with Air North. So they're a key player in that partnership of assisting. They're excited to develop that opportunity for players to come out of remote regions and play more high level sport. So I guess to answer your question, they'll certainly be around from round one, and you'll likely see them. It's a challenge for us as a small club to manage. So, as all community rugby league is, it's heavily dependent on sponsorships. We're no different. Certainly if there's additional people out there within the community that would like to get involved with that partnership about promoting sport pathways through remote regions and opportunities, I think we'd love to have a conversation.
And I suppose the key thing there is when the players come in from Gove United, they're adding to Souths. They're not replacing Souths and the players. They're just bolstering the numbers on the bench. They're they're filling a few key positions and adding to, not replacing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, certainly our strategy as far as improving and being consistent is that they become involved. But it's certainly at the forefront of our planning that we develop our Darwin-based players to collaborate in that space.
And you mentioned that the 16s and the 18s have been competitive as well, so there's a few players from the 18s that might push through into the DABSCO Premiership this year?
Yeah, there is likely. I know we saw Jalen Priestley and Bodie Bohm play some small amount of games in the men's Prems. I guess it's, like a lot of clubs are saying, it's about bringing them through in the right manner and the right time. But, you've got exciting guys like Eli Salanibs in that 16s, 18s. So the answer to your question is yes, there will be, but I guess the platform is that they start in Gatley and they go, and a decision for the coaches to make sure.
Is there a good feel around the club? Like for me, from an outsider looking, it looks like 2026 could be a really positive season for South, that we might see the Bunnies start to move up the ladder a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. That's always been our plan. I mean, we started this journey in 24, so to speak, as far as about being a bit consistent. And it, of course, you would want perhaps more favourable results on the field, but sometimes that's football. It doesn't always fall that way. But there has been some shining kind of aspects of those seasons, and you're right. That's certainly our focus. Is that 26 that
Dragons in round one.
Yeah, listen, that's a good matchup for us, and I'm sure every game's a hard game. But yeah, it's exciting. It's early days now. Everyone's kind of very focused on pre-season and just controlling what they can control. But undoubtedly, we're very focused.
And registrations are still open both in the juniors and in the senior level?
Yeah, they are. So, and we're seeing good numbers league-wide. But we'd love to, it's tricky, like you said, with all the other sports that are going on at the moment. But we'd love to, see those registrations keep coming in, because that just allows more flexibility to plan for our staff and our community rugby league is built on volunteers. So that the more time we have, and a good little plug and play is obviously people would have seen that our early bird special is there. So we've got fairly cheap registrations as far as the clubs overall, and we're offering a discount through to February and stuff like that. So if people are looking to save some money, or they're not quite sure, or they'd like to get into rugby league, we'd love to have that conversation. Yeah,
playrugbyleague.com is the one-stop shop for registration, or contact Clint or someone at the club there if you're keen to get involved as a volunteer. April 17, I think it's round 7 in the NRL. We've got the NRL Dolphins and the Panthers coming to town. Excited for that clash?
Yeah, I think everyone, loves the opportunity to get to watch some high-level live football, and in the NT, that's the key game, and it's an exciting matchup where everyone's aware of how strong the Penrith brand is. But the Dolphins are a relatively new franchise, but they're offer something exciting. So naturally that will draw a lot of people and attention, and it will be undoubtedly a great game.
Fantastic. We've been talking with Clint Doedee. Clint, my notes that I wrote down for South for the start of the season: consistency, and you've just nailed it with the consistency of the coaches and consistency of the players. Player depth, I called a few South's games and I felt sorry for the guys at some stage with not many on the bench. You spoke about increasing that player depth, particularly with the partnership with Gove United, and the last one was pathways from juniors into the seniors, how they coming along, and you've mentioned it there as well. So I think from my observations as well, it looks like Souths are setting up for a real positive season. Clint Doedee, President of the South Darwin Rugby League Club. Stay with us if you can. We're going to talk more NRL trials after the break. You're listening to Cam and Will. This is WCBH Darwin's 97.7. It's 21 minutes past 9. Still got Clint Doedee, President of the South Darwin Rugby League Football Club, in the studio with us this morning. Clint, a lot is happening in the world of rugby league. We've got our NRL trials on at the moment. In fact, it's the Witzer pre-season challenge. Saw the English Super League that started overnight. We've got a couple of new clubs there taking place, and we're not far away from the Vegas Nines as well. Let's run through a few of the trials that we've seen. Let's go back to last Saturday, just before we get into the trials. And Clint, you just made the point to me off air. You've got to have a look at the lineups, don't you? You've got teams that put out, like you said, the Vegas lineup, or their round one lineup, the strongest possible lineup, and you've got teams that put out a developmental lineup as well, where there's most of the 1 through to 13 aren't their regular starters as well. So let's go back to last Saturday. Cowboys 34 defeated the Bulldogs 30. That was a big Bulldogs comeback. Did you get to see any of that game?
Unfortunately, I didn't, Cam, but I did follow it from afar. And you're right. I think the Cowboys were out to quite a commanding lead early, and the Bulldogs had a late rush, if I remember rightly. So yeah, it was a pretty high scoring game, but that was the first of their hit outs. So undoubtedly, that was probably some more of the developmental other players getting that opportunity.
And of course, both of those teams are on the plane to Vegas. Dragons 28 over the Knights 18. Great to see Justin Holbrook back coaching an NRL team. He was the former Titans coach as well, and lost his job when Des Hasler came in as well. I thought unfairly, because I thought Holbrook was doing a really good job at the Titans. But it's great to see him back coaching the Knights. In the halves, they had Fletcher Sharp and Sandon Smith. I still think their best combination is Fletcher Sharp and Jack Cogger, but Sandon Smith, he accounted himself really well. Did you catch that one?
Only the highlights, unfortunately, but I think everyone's interested to see how those two teams are going, and particularly Newcastle, where they'll figure with a new coach, and I guess, just kind of moving up the ladder, so to speak. So, it was an interesting game to watch, and two teams that have got some new stars, so to speak.
Thursday night, how good was this game? One for me as a Titans supporter, but Titans 24 got home against the Dolphins 12, but the reason it was so good, Tommy Flegler, back out on the field after 678 days out injured. Really serious shoulder injury there, but back on the field and scored a try as well. So good to see Flegler back out on the field.
Yeah, you're right, and I think everyone got an opportunity to see that try, but that's exciting, isn't it, when someone's out of the game for that period of time, and how, he's an exciting player to watch. So it's a great news story to see him, and I'm sure, he'll be looking forward to playing some more minutes.
And just quietly, I was very impressed with Lachlan Ilias in the halves there for the Titans. I thought he was unlucky at Souths. I thought they put a lot of pressure on him too young, too early, and then he was made a bit of a scapegoat, and then he went over to the Dragons as well, and just couldn't cement a first-grade spot there. But he's at the Titans now, and hopefully he can feature in our 1 through to 17 there at the Titans. Last night, the Raiders 32, the Storm 6. Look, both teams were not fielding many of their regular lineup, really a developmental list there. And the Cowboys 66. Big winners over the Panthers 24, but there was a stark difference between the lineups, wasn't there, Clint? Yeah,
there was, and I'm a bit of a diehard Cowboys fan at heart. So yeah, that was because it's quite clearly obvious when you're seeing a scoreline of about 66 to 24. I think it potentially is at NRL level that that there obviously was a different matchup in the teams. But they're ready for Vegas, and the Panthers are obviously just building for their next trial.
They are ready for Vegas, and I'd say the Cowboys, Todd Payton, go into the season under a little bit of pressure to perform as well, so it was good to see them rack up 66 points. I suppose the concerning thing, or the thing for them to work on early in the season is not to leak in 24 points.
Yeah, you're right. I think their stats wholeheartedly in 25 for defensive aspects wasn't great. So you're right. That's the key improvement, and it'll be critical for their success.
Trials coming up today: Warriors v Sea Eagles, Tigers versus the Roosters. The Knights will take on the Bulldogs. The Dragons up against the Rabbitohs. Tomorrow we'll see the Sharks take on the Eels. The All Stars is tomorrow, Sunday the 15th of Feb. The Australian Indigenous All Stars up against the New Zealand Maori All Stars. We'll see this take place in the touch, the women's and in the men's. It's all taking place in Waikato in New Zealand as well. And of course, last week we had our interview, Will, of Shari Togo, who's the coach of the women's out there at the Litchfield Bears. She's the assistant coach of the Australian Indigenous All-Stars women's team. So good luck to Shari and the women over there in New Zealand. We've got the World Club Challenge just around the corner as well, Friday the 20th of February. Brisbane Broncos up against Hull KR. Hull had a loss in the opening round of the Super League season. They lost to the new club, the York Knights as well. They went down very narrowly. I think it was 1 point in the end. But they went down there, so I think the Broncos are taking on the Sunshine Coast Falcons this weekend as well. So we're not far away from the World Club Challenge. I imagine the Broncos they'd need to get over there pretty quickly as well. That will take place Friday the 20th of February, 5 a.m. Darwin time if you want to get up and see the World Club Challenge, of course. That is the champion of the NRL from last season up against the champion of the Super League from last season as well. Season opener is the 28th of February over there in Las Vegas. There's 2 NRL games. We've got the Cowboys and Knights and the Bulldogs and the Dragons, and 1 English Super League game, Hull KR up against the Leeds Rhinos. Leeds went down this morning as well, I saw that. But before the Vegas opening, we've got the Vegas Nines, 26th, 27th and 28th of February. The NT has a team there, Garamilla Duavata. Garamilla, Darwin. Duavata is a Fijian word, all as one, all working together. And having a look at the lineup that Coach Leon Cleal from Darwin Brothers, he's taking the women over there again. A very young team, a very talented team, but despite being so young, lots of experience there. In the Tru-Flow Services Premiership. Very, very capable team. You've had a look at the lineup?
I have, Cam, and I've actually been able to see them training on TRL1 whilst we were over at TRL2 or Warren Park. And, you know, it's exciting. I think, yeah, you're right. There's some great names there. Leon will undoubtedly have them prepared. And what a great opportunity for people, the NT, to get that opportunity in second year.
It absolutely is. They're playing in the Women's Community Division, which takes place only over 2 days, the 26th and the 27th. Now, this is Las Vegas dates and times, so we'll have to check the local Darwin times to try and pick up the stream there. They're in Pool B. They'll take on the San Diego Barracudas, Roots Rugby Family, and then British Columbia. So on day one, we'll play a game. We'll have 1 game break, and then we'll play 2 games back-to-back. And initially when I saw that, I checked the 4 teams in the draw. 2 of the teams have back-to-back games, and 2 of the teams have at least 1 game break before they take on the next opponent as well. And I thought initially that we were harshly done by, but I sat and thought about it. And in the end, I think this is actually going to be better for our women, because the carnival-style football, and we just saw this recently with the Hotter Sevens rugby, is the challenge of warming up, playing, cooling down, the body gets stiff and sore. Then you've got to warm up again, you play, then you cool down, the body gets stiffer and sorer, and then you've got to do it again. You know, this is one of the challenges of carnival-style football. So at least for our women, for Garamilla Duavata, you warm up, you play, you cool down, you warm up, and you play back-to-back. So at the end of that first game, and they are short games, you've just got to keep warm, not allow the body to cool down, and then go out and play the third game as well. You'd agree with that analysis, or you'd rather have a gap in between games, Clint?
Oh, listen, I think, you know, it's a challenging one to manage, isn't it? But I think you know, you're right, that you'd probably rather go close games after each other, but it's definitely a young person's, the 7s and the 9s kind of format, and it is quite challenging on the body over that period. But you're right. I think I'd much rather the first aspect.
And you're right as well. It is a young person's game. It's a fit person's game as well. So as we narrow in on 50, that's probably, I'm thinking about the body seizing up. But when you're young and you're at the prime of your career, you can probably manage both scenarios as well.
It's the 5th tackle. Let's put the bomb up on WCBH. And you're listening to Darwin's 97.7.